6:02.
5-0.
5:02. It's my co-chair. Hi, Bill.
How are you, John? Get that candy straightened out?
No. Working on it. Okay, I need a motion to accept the minutes of December 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Oh,
accepted. Hello, Mr. Payne. Next meeting is March 6th. And is daylight saving times between now and then?
No, I don't think it starts then, does it? Maybe that weekend.
I don't know. 6 or 5, it doesn't make any difference to me.
No,
close to 5.
Go for 5?
maybe for one more month.
All right. I don't have a preference, so can we change it to 5, Christine?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Other correspondence, other than all this? Nope. Where's Jim?
He just left his wife pulled in at like 4:30.
Who?
Jimmy Falcon, he might not know it's at 5.
Maybe we hurry up. We won't, we'll be here till 7 if he shows up at 6.
I have no other correspondence, so BJ, you're on.
Me, what do I got? I have nothing.
I got nothing.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't think, well, I will say this, no, tomorrow, it's 1 o'clock, the work session, we are discussing a new commercial shellfish license that we've been working on for a few months with the Bayman. You know, they wanted, it restricted the waters of Shelter Island to people who lived here, for commercial take. Am I right about that? Did I say it right? So that's what we're gonna be discussing, that at the work session, presented and discussed. The second thing is, wetlands applications are now gonna go to the planning board. Planning board, not the town board. So they'll be almost acting like a ZBA in that instance, not almost like. So there's that. Also tomorrow, Cornell Cooperative Extension is gonna do a presentation on a fairly big project for Shelter Island for restoring the habitat, eelgrass and shellfish. Big meaning money, it's big money, but hopefully from WQI funds. So actually, tomorrow is a Waterways extravaganza at the work.
Everybody into the bowl.
So what's the story with the comprehensive plan stuff?
Well, I had a little window, I lost it, and so there's that on this little piece, but Meg Larson has written an environmental chapter. And so we decided a month ago, I'm gonna wait for that, which is done, I just read it for the first time today, to see if the Waterways should tuck into there. Yeah, I still don't think it should. So now I gotta get down to work. Now, that being said, we also, on the comp plan, I'm covering 3 chapters with the committee we are covering 3 chapters with the bigger committee this month, and we are evaluating the proposals that came in. We went out for bid to hire a new consultant to finish the plan up. So there's only so many hours that I can devote to each one of the compartments that I'm responsible for here. So hopefully February gives me some time. And I'll let you know. And I also hope that your next meeting doesn't have an agenda that looks like this.
We're gonna go fast.
Okay.
Just a quick question, the planning board is advisory or are they like the zoning, like?
Like the zoning, right?
Currently, depends on what they're discussing. Their final deciding body in regards to subdivision and lot line modification, the advisory in regards to the wetlands and special permit. Moving forward, there will be final ruling board on the wetlands as well, but they still will be advisory on the special permits to the town board.
Okay.
Interesting.
BJ coming back. Oh, I'm gonna jump ahead of you for a second while we're still, because this is sort of like part of this conversation, no offense. In lieu of the comprehensive plan, I have notes, I got behind today, so I'm not in a great state of mind. I have notes of things that I made that we've been ruling, we've been advising as policy, but it isn't in the code. you know them as well as I do, you know, the length of docks, boat lifts, centering,
Docks per property.
Height,
the number of docks, all kinds of things. And so next meeting, I'll bring that list with me. Maybe I'll, if I can, I'll email it out to you guys ahead of time, and you can add to it. But, you know, if it ends up to be 100 things, you're gonna get overwhelmed, but we might have to prioritize those and just somehow just start knocking them off. Even if we're just doing one per meeting, you know, and accomplish the comprehensive plan as we go. You know, we all know the stuff.
Right.
That we need to be dealing with. And you've been, I don't know how you guys feel, but pretty distracted for the past 12 months. Yeah.
John, that list is sort of like a working document of how you guys function beyond just the letter of the law, and that's what you're referring to, right? So maybe would be a good starting point as well for inclusion and revisions to the code, right? Like things where, at least since I've been involved, you all have said, we should really change that.
Well,
For now, we can't, but in the future, we could. So that might be a really great starting.
Future is here.
For saying.
So my next, thank you for that, because that then reminded me, my next question is if we can focus on this and come up with some conclusions, is the town board in a position to act on it? No, you know what I mean, I don't want to go through this,
You know, the logjam is.
that's a tough question, no, maybe not fair.
No, but the logjam is the town attorney, it always will be, it doesn't matter who's in that seat. I think we need to hire a paralegal, but I'm alone in that thought. In addition to the town attorney, because everything that every committee does, almost everything has to go through his office. And he's got a million other things happening in addition to meetings, and he's actually been conducting trainings and enforcement, so. Let me just say, can we get it done? I think we can, and it will depend on that. Stephen having the time to pull it together. When you give him a change,
I'm probably
he has to effectuate.
getting ahead of myself, but do you think it would be better to bring these out, you know, like two at a time, 5 at a time, 20 at a time? I know it's a tough question. You can think about it.
Yeah.
So having not comprehensive plan, but having a comprehensive list of everything would probably.
one might affect another.
Right, then be able to say, okay, yeah, let's bite-size these and have these implemented or affect somehow. Or it might just be, wow, there's so many things that need to be addressed, we gotta do it all at once, you know?
Right, because we run into that, the one thing affects another.
Yeah.
Right now, rentals.
Some may be
Trying to
much
just get
more.
a safe rental program in place. Well, the short-term rental law came after the code, and it really kind of messed everything up in terms of how we do rental, short-term and year-round. So anyway, don't want to do that again.
And there's the residency thing.
Yeah, well, that's, the residency issue is a big one. I'm surprised the shellfish, the Baymen don't want to take a look at not just commercial license, but the regular license for shellfishing, because the way they define resident in that portion of the code, as I recall, is basically if you're on the island, you're a resident. So,
I know, and we've changed that.
oh, have you?
In changing this part of the code, we are changing, right? There has to be a
He
year-round.
added some domiciliary
Yes.
definition to it.
Okay.
It was pulled out of the commercial shellfish license from the state that required, like that concept. But they're still in the shellfish review board or whatever, I think that's what he's calling it. There's still an opportunity for somebody who can't meet all those criteria to still make an argument and say, I am a resident. Like,
And this is why.
right, and here's why.
But very few people will do that for a 1-week rental, But the domiciliary thing, I can't say the word, the thing, that is front of mind for everybody in this building now, thank you.
Good, all right.
No,
Well,
I mean, I think it needed to be.
I've been blowing that horn for a long time, I think.
And we beat it to death at the
The shoreline,
shoreline
Yeah.
2 years ago, right, I mean, it's definitely been.
that's what brought it to mind, that's what made me realize how it is in the code.
It is throughout the code.
Right.
Pressures on the island demanded, I think.
Okay, let's try and keep We have 3 Zoom guests, 2 members of the committee and Pam Demarest. And you folks will get a chance to comment or question at the end of the meeting. All right, so the 2 members, Mark and George, unless your absence is caused by some extraordinary event, that's where you're at. I say that right?
That's the written statement.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, so,
sweet.
in the interest of that, so I had, as I had said at the last meeting we had, I was gonna put together sort of like a season end summary for you.
Oh, right.
Which I did, but in the interest of time, I think it might be better for me to email it to you guys, right? I was originally anticipating giving you the January meeting, right?
Yeah.
But in the interest of time, because you have a handsome agenda here, how about I email it to you guys, and then you can review it, go over it, come up with thoughts and questions, and then address them at the next meeting.
Handsome agenda, I like that term. That's a new one.
I mean, if there's anything in particular that you want me to touch on right this second, but I would say as far as that sort of stuff,
You guys remember that?
I'm good with that.
I'm good.
it seems like it would be more effective to do it that way tonight.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to new business. The annual, I've been trying to do this for, I don't know how many years. It's gotta be 5 or 6 years, maybe more, to have an annual inventory. The count has been anywhere during the month of December, January, or February. I think last month was February, last year was February. Well, gave me a count on December 13th of 740, this is to get in the minutes so we can compare year to year. 740 moorings, that's commercial and private,
You said 7:30, right?
740, and 78 stake mooring and pulleys. Those are valid permits. But there's, as of that date, and we don't know how many permits are in flux.
Yeah, there's, I could give, I mean, ballpark, on that day, probably anywhere from 30 to 50, might have been somewhere in some
Really?
various stage of, yeah, right, so.
Because Sharon she gave me number 60 once, I was like, oh, but that's,
Yeah, well, it could, like today, it could be 70. So because, and I don't want to go into all of this right this second, but as part of this, because all of the mooring permits historically have been issued on a 3-year rolling basis, meaning anywhere on any day for any period within 3 years, you may have any number of moorings, 0 to however many we have, expiring, renewing, in a process of being renewed, in other words, being reviewed as part of that renewal.
and you're allowed a 3-month.
And you're allowed a 3-month window prior to expiration. So it's a very, very kind of Rubik's Cube of combinations of things that could be happening. Then in addition to that, they're kind of parsed out in a weird way because of the way that the system's set up to have like riparian moorings listed separately from all other moorings. So riparian, it's kind of a convoluted thing. But anyway, so that's why on that day, and there could have been hypothetically, like I said, maybe as many as 60, it could have been as many as 60, depending on how many renewals were under review, how many were opening for renewal on that day, and how many had expired as of that
I
day.
think we should pull that number. I just assumed that it would be a similar number, but I didn't know it was such a great number every year, that there would be so,
So as we move forward, that won't be an issue. It'll be a very, very stable number, a static number, right? Because as we're rolling to the 1-year permit, right, we're rolling in people as they renew to the new expiration date of March 31st of the next calendar year when they renew. So eventually, we'll have sort of this final day that we have an absolute count, right, what's going on.
Okay.
And from January 1st to that day would be, all of them would be potentially up for renewal in that window.
but using the same sort of system that we've been using for quite a few years, there hasn't been any jump. It's
No.
right in the ballpark.
No, the state of flux thing is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where did I hear that the town board had decided to stay with the 3 years one? Did I ever hear that? No. Okay.
But they're not staying with the 3? I thought they were.
They're not. That's what I heard
I heard also.
by like maybe misreporting or.
Go. It's a rolling, it's a rolling implementation. It's as you get.
Yeah, so anybody who renewed theoretically on, let's just say December 30th, they would have been issued a 3-year permit, right? Because they would have been the last people prior to the January 1st implementation of it.
And if you didn't
So maybe
expire.
that's what happened, is somebody got a 3-year permit, like right at the end.
No, but there was some other,
If you can find it, let me, we should correct that.
maybe, I don't know, you've heard it maybe, and
Yeah, I'm trying to think where
I couldn't remember, but. I tried. Oh, well, they listened to us.
Okay, should we move on? Mr. Levinson wants to put some new deck in. FA. On first part of his dock. I don't know how long it is.
New decking, it's IP, I don't see any problem with it.
At what point, it seems like all the docks, I know even my small dock and the dock right down the road from this dock, Slaughterbeck, they were all required to put in the grading, open grading decking. So is that a DEC call, and was this presented to the DEC for this repair, or?
It's only DEC permit attached to it.
Everything I've seen going in is all open grading.
As of note here, plan submitted to DEC December 4th to show the extent of replacement boards for original section dock. Moved. So there's some sort of outstanding DEC determination. So I guess whatever we say, we can either hold this or say whatever we say, but it's dependent upon the DEC.
See and find in place. And that's what he's doing.
Right. Usually it was.
He's got boards there, right? Can he just put the boards in and not have to go through?
They might be boards that were, I think,
His words.
kind in place. Kind in place also doesn't mean he's grandfathered in to use materials that are no longer permitted.
Well, we can't give them a permit because it's over, we can't just call it a repair because it's over $10,000. Has to, since it's over $10,000, typically you have to start with the whole process.
Is it over 10,000? Do we know?
You buy Epe? Jesus. Each board is probably 20, 30, $40.
Well, it's like,
This is mine. No, I meant from the DEC standpoint, like if you were contracted.
The DEC only requires to grade over vegetated wetlands. It's only this vegetation that the DEC will have in this situation that doesn't have that.
Thank you.
funny, they required it down at Slaughterbeck, right?
Well, they would have, like, it depended on how the application was done. They would only, like with Slaughterback, if you wanted to, you could change to like E-Pay past that wetland area. Like, we've done it several times on the island where only the inshore end is degraded material, then we switch to tropical harbor to match up with the float. You know, because the float is not required to have the grading on it.
Right.
So at some point in the dock, when we get past that vegetated wetland, we switch to a tropical hardwood or whatever. Like the approach ramp, and then maybe just to get past the seagrass is great. But people sometimes choose just to use all the grading.
All right, so I don't know what are you saying here?
So in a situation like Levingston, he's not in a situation where he's over a vegetated wetland.
No, but he says he's submitted the plans to the DEC. The upper right-hand corner is a box.
That's what's on the 20, no?
Beg your pardon?
Oh, maybe,
No. It's December 4th.
yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, generally, I thought when you had to replace existing stuff, in place or been signed. I thought it was just to get a permit to
You
do
only
it.
need this permit because it's money,
Right.
because of money. The town wants its share.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
James?
I'm good.
No.
Good.
Okay. 4, I'm having a little procedural thing. Guess if we call on you. You're gagged unless we call on you.
About that.
I'm trying to follow the rules here. All right, next thing, I don't know how you pronounce it. Four-year dock repair. Now, did we ever get an original, the original permit?
I emailed a bunch of papers from the building.
But I didn't look, ordinarily, did there be a file in the town clerk's office with the original?
The permit was in the email, yeah, not the drawings, but the permit was.
But it's not here.
But let's.
So there was an original permit, if you read through some of this, and Reed gave me some background on it. It included locust post only, it was specifically locust post only. I'm assuming that there were some dimensions, it was like 1998, so it wasn't, I guess that's 25 years ago, right? Still, we had a pretty.
This is Ralph getting the permit or somebody else?
I can pull it up.
You can, well, the email was a permit. I'm kind of leaning toward, this should be a whole new application, because this survey doesn't even show the dimensions of the float. Well, it shows the dimensions of the float, but not the distance off by watermark. They took a regular land survey and just drew in the dock, right? That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Then even if we had that, then what are we going to say?
I don't think we could even discuss this. There was no DEC permit on the table for this job, only a DEC fine. Fine and.
I think they were given permission though, to leave, or they said to chock the float so it can't get more than a foot off the ground. And I thought they said they were the same. Didn't have a problem with it. Whereas. On. Right, so here's on the last page, page 5, respondent shall cease and desist from any and all future violations. Respondent shall submit photographs of the completed work. Submittals to be made as follows. Copy to Marine Habitat. No later than December 31st, respondent shall have removed the structures and or fill which are the subject of this order as follows. Removal specifications. You guys with me on page 5? The dock can remain as built. It needs to be chocked to keep it a minimum of 1 foot off the bottom of the waterway. Gangway can be installed. That's their bottom line.
Okay. Seems they should give us more specific plans as to how exactly it just says
Okay, let's see.
rebuild, repair and rebuild.
Think that'll be helpful, Christina, what you're doing,
What?
what you're finding?
Yeah, this is the CO,
That's the original.
yeah, the CO.
We'll try and take it from my email.
CO issued based on the permit.
Thank you.
In addition to what Bill said, it shouldn't rest on the bottom, but also they use treated lumber. Which Reed said it was expressly forbidden in the original in a creek.
This is, I don't know where Reed got that information.
Oh,
It's not on his CO.
From the end of the permit.
yeah, it says here, application for permit from 1997. Upcast signed it.
This is just the-
CA number will be used in the creek when the locust posts.
Wait, where are you seeing that? I'm sorry.
Reed's email, did you have Reed's email?
Date, anybody's dated that?
Reed's email?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And it's January 18th. And then I bump it up again. February 2nd.
And there were photos, right? Was that Reed's email that had the photos attached? CCA filings?
You want me to print that for you, John?
Feel like it, sure. Is anybody familiar, put eyes on this?
On the dock,
Yeah, in actual permit, it says no swimming.
I drove around there, I didn't really, I knew sort of where it is.
Can you try?
Yeah, they get buried, it's so annoying. It's the worst email system.
Christine, I don't know where this is. If you could, you could do the Google Earth thing,
Yeah.
please.
The permit from town clerk's office.
There we go. Have you put eyes on it?
Yeah, no, I can do that.
Ever? I mean, ever in your,
Yeah, years of,
Here to,
but not to notice. I mean, I think these are 100% over.
this is,
doesn't sound like it's something that's really.
Ralph Gas.
Yeah, it's a boilerplate. It's hard to tell from this diagram whether it even follows the original plans that were part of the.
No, if there are original plans.
What's outlined in this building permit.
Say what?
Can't even see.
We could throw this back at the applicant and say, you gotta show us a copy of your original permit and then show us, and then file for a new permit. Oh, so where do we got here? That's it right there?
This.
They got a picture right there. Pretty close to shore. What did, if you don't mind me asking, BJ, what you ended up with?
An open grate over the grasslands, just like Bill was just describing, to the water's edge, to the edge of the grasslands, and we are not allowed to have a float. And it was just 2 years after this.
Late to the party, huh?
And that was wise,
Maybe that's
there's
why-
no water by.
That's when I started on the WMAC. Bill and I.
Yeah.
You zoom in on that, please?
I think, we really need detailed plans showing what exists and what work they intend to do, and
It's done.
Yeah, it's already
to complete it.
I saw pictures.
So, yeah, the photograph.
Yeah, no,
I can't pull up the email, but we got a letter from Read, right.
Yeah, let me. Find it again.
No, I read the letter. I didn't realize that I thought he was talking about the work that had been done so far, not that it was complete. That they had completed the rest of it.
No, he did it, he got mailed by the DEC, he got fined $4,000,
Well, it still needs to be chalked.
and it still needs, right, and
Where did I see pictures of pilings going like this on the float?
Here,
Am I making that up?
did you put the pictures up?
They're only on one side of the float, so that arrangement is not gonna chalk.
right.
Yeah, then January 18th, 11:59, read. Because also it's not graded over the marshland, it's IPA, over the marshland and then CCA coasts.
Which is a DEC. Yeah. I don't get it.
Senior will get be able to get the photos.
Measurements, I mean, it'd be nice to see measurements of each component, if they are in compliance with the permit.
With the original permit?
Yeah, see who knows what they built and what they were permitted to build.
Right. Okay, so we're looking for the original permit and an as-built drawing, if it's been already built. But there's gonna have to be something different for this whole chalking arrangement. Is there any pilings there?
Yeah.
Well, that's the two. So now he's gonna need 4 pilings instead of 2 pilings. Chalk. How about we table it?
Let's go down and look at the thing and measure it and see if it measures what is on the original permit. Well, yeah, we do. Yeah, where is it? Did I just see it on my email? I must have seen it now. No. Oh, this is it.
It's no
Well,
catwalk.
4 by 60-foot catwalk, 4 foot above the ground, 3 by 10 ramp, and a 10 by 20 float.
This, what they provided from 19,
Where does the catwalk end?
Well, let's see how much catwalk there is to start with.
He's supposed to remove it the DEC tells him he's gotta remove it, doesn't it? Did you guys see that?
I just read it.
We tried, like you said.
no,
It says dock can remain as built. Float needs to be chalked a minimum of 1 foot off the bottom. The gangway can be installed.
So-
Their only requirement is to chalk
Chalk
the
it.
float. Period.
But why is it clicked, the X, and it says no later than December 31st, respondent shall have removed the structures and/or fill. Oh, I seem to be contradictory.
There's another issue that was the fill.
Something about the landscaper dumped the fill supposedly in the wrong spot.
like all the contractors did the wrong thing.
How they are.
It's the contractor's fault.
Well, they were required to submit photographs, so those are probably the photographs. Well, how do we get to take a look at it? The easy place to get to?
Well,
I don't know where the hell it is.
get your badge out and go down here.
All right. This is getting tabled.
I'll go down there
Okay.
and do it.
Tabled for further review. Cummins dock application. New lower stairs, up to the construct. High ramp. 6 by 20 for the 6 and 2, 3 ton Thompson Road. Jack, how did you get put at the bottom?
Yeah, the mean high water and the mean low water are messed up on this.
Rooker Basin, oh yeah, Rooker Basin. Oh, so this has got the 15% rules comes into play.
Right, there's nothing shows the distance to the opposite shore that I could tell.
You bring that up, Christina?
72. Plus 120. So the square feet of the floating dock is 192, so that works.
All of these, all the land, stairway and walkway, that's all building department, right?
Planning board.
Wetlands.
Town board already issued.
You know which property this is? Oh, okay. Where do you measure to?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
The point?
Well, the concept of the law is to prevent hindrance to navigation. Where that is, there's no, I mean, it'd be nice to get a number, but you could go directly across if you wanted to, and with that, you certainly got it.
I mean, if you follow the line of the dock.
Right.
The dock is only 55 feet long. And it floats in the proper water depth and under the 200 square feet, it's small.
Right.
There's good water there.
What is the length of the dock in this permit someplace?
Right here.
The plans are scale.
30, 30-foot catwalk,
Okay.
15-foot ramp, 12-foot float.
It's pretty minimal, right? Pretty modest. In character with the rest of the place.
Right.
Any interference with that dock next to it?
They don't actually show the dimension from mean high water, which is marked as low water, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be less.
It's strange, they show the depth at various points, but they don't show a picture of the.
Go ahead, Jack.
See what page this is. The length is shown for mean high water and mean low water on. I don't have my glasses, I can't read the page. This is page 6. It gives us, it gives you the length of low water and high water, and we use the scale. 8 feet equals 1 inch.
All right, so here's the rule is 4 feet or 4 feet of depth, whichever comes first, right? Like we're going beyond 4 feet of depth.
Does anyone have a drawing that shows the dock in position on the? I'm looking at one of two, and it's just shows the water depths, doesn't show the dock.
Sorry, guys, I was thinking 6 feet 4 and 9 has got the dock and the water depths. Jack, since you're applying, you're part of the app, you're the representing the owner, representing the owner. So how do you justify going up past 4 feet?
Does it? I can't tell.
I don't see it.
In short corner of that, are they one?
See what, oh, okay, that's not bad.
Get a couple pairs of the shelter around town hall. The inshore corner of the float is just over 2.5 feet required. You know what I'm saying? That inshore corner where the ramp lands on the float
Yep.
is just over 2.5 feet.
Where,
So we made it.
Where do you see that?
where do you see, where is that represented in?
It's a scale drawing.
My thing says 4 feet. It's a 4-foot contour line.
4 feet on the drawing on page 5.
5 of 9. Shows 4 feet at the end of the fixed dock.
Did you find it 5? No, just see it now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we're inshore of that 4 foot, and then it quickly comes up to the 2.20 contour. So we just made sure the flow was, clearly in 2.5 feet, so it doesn't have to be chalked. You just want to avoid chalking. You know what I'm saying? Do you see that too? There's no 2.5 contour in here, which is a little bit. But you can see we're clearly over the, into 2.5 feet of water.
But you're also clearly past the 4 foot.
Well, that inshore, it like I said, I mean, the hydrographic surveyor didn't put a 2.5 contour on. Like, this was a situation where the town asked for the applicant to separate the stairs and give that like a wetlands application.
Oh, yeah.
We took over basically for the expediter. And like I said, I told him that it had to clearly be over the 2.5 contour. There is no 2.5 contour, and I didn't do that. And like I said, this dock is only 55 feet long, and it doesn't impede anybody's navigation.
Can you put 55 feet out from the shore on that thing, Christina, just to see how that looks to the adjacent dock?
That represents what?
The
Total length of the dock.
from mean high water.
Yeah. It's certainly not any worse, it's not going to impact that area at all.
There's no hardship letter or anything. So why are we making an exception for him and holding other people to the code? Here we go again.
So the code is,
But the grade there is pretty.
right, it is clearly steep according to the pictures, but the code is 4 feet,
Of depth.
4 feet of depth or 100 feet, right?
Whichever comes
Okay.
first.
The most inshore section of that dock is in 4 feet of water. If you feed back the whole thing up so that only the furthest end of it is in 4 feet of water, he's in less than 2 feet of water with the rest of it. You have to give the benefit of them getting the whole dock to 4 feet of water, if it's less, especially if it's less than 100 feet.
But they can move it back to 2.5 feet easily.
Not really, but if you look.
It's at 4 feet right now, the inner
Section
and
shows it.
shows that there's a cliff there. It's like the lagoon. The lagoon just, you're in 2 feet of water, and the next thing you know, you're over your head.
I think it's very minimal as far as.
That only works to the benefit of the dock by moving it in, because he's easily going to be in deep water on the outside of the dock.
And where we tell the DEC, the boat, there's obviously gonna be a boat laying inside the yellow on one side, on the other side of the L. The boat, they want the boat in 2.5 feet of water also. So, what am I gonna say? The boat is 8 feet wide, and you're talking a matter of like feet. Like I said, we're only at 55 feet past mean high water, so the structure is pretty minimal.
I think it's minimal for what they're asking for. It's not any further out than the dock adjacent to it. It doesn't impede navigation. It's well short of the 100-foot allowed. And yeah, because of the contour, is it in 4 feet of water for a longer distance? Yeah, but it's not affecting anything.
To me, doesn't that meet code?
Seems to me,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't meet that section of the code that says that it's either 100 feet or 4 feet comes first is where the dock stops. So the least we would need
The
is,
whole dock, it's a float. Right?
counts.
Doesn't the whole float have to be in 4 feet of water for it to be, for that code to be? If you put half of it in this case, half of it's gonna be in 2 feet of water. And then you're gonna get an extreme tide and the guy's gonna get, and then you got a dock that's on
He
the,
writes a letter, would that make everybody happy?
I don't think he should.
I mean, I don't think he has to write a letter either, but
All right, so the next one comes up and the guy says, all right, I want to go out to, what is he out to? 5.5 feet.
Right.
And they point to this as a precedent for why he can go to 5.5 feet. Can you tell me how you want to deal with that?
If it's
I
less
want to
than,
know what the grade is in the channel or, where it is,
They're not things that we, why is the grade an issue?
Because if you get too far inshore, the back of the float is going to be,
look at page 6. And visualize if you push that dock back to, and then look at the extremes of tides that we've had in the last week. It's been like 6 feet.
I think this dock is an example of not asking for too much.
Right, exactly.
All right, so I could.
It's a perfect place for a dock because it's protected. That's why where you want a dock. We give people a bad time because they put docks where they shouldn't be.
Right.
Mr. Costello, just to placate Bill, well, maybe Bill, move the float inshore until you hit the 2.5 mark on the inboard end of the float. I know it's heavy, but it's, it's probably 6 or 8, 5 feet.
What's
Something
that do to the L?
So we go back to the line.
and we could,
You're talking 4 or 5 feet. I mean, it seems like the dock is pretty minimal and it's getting out to, I just.
if we did that, we could assign up a rationale to it that.
Well, if you bring it in, I don't know how many feet, but if you get it in too far, somebody maneuvering a boat to come on the inside of the L can be maybe in trouble depth-wise.
Trying to come up with some kind of a rationale that we can point to and apply in the future if we have to.
The rationale here is the guy bought the right kind of property for a dock, and that's where he should be able to put a dock, and he's not asking for too much.
And he's looking to put the whole dock in 4 feet of water, at less than 100 feet. I mean,
He bought the right piece of property.
The floats go up from 4 feet to 5.5 feet.
right, but it starts at 4 feet, or it ends at 4 feet. So
It doesn't end at 4 feet, it ends at 5.5 feet.
And are we talking about, it starts at 4 feet.
Right, okay. But if you move the whole thing back, then the beginning of the dock isn't in 4 feet of water.
It doesn't have to be in 4 feet of water, only needs to be 2.5 feet of water.
According to this diagram, to me, it looks like that thing is gonna.
And why does he have to be able to keep a boat on the inside and the outside? That's not,
I mean, come on, I think we're, it's like.
no, he bought a piece of property in a place where you can only put the boat on the outside of the dock. That's the issue.
Well, how do you feel?
We're not supposed to make life miserable for somebody who.
It's not miserable. When I put a dock in, I have no water on the, same situation as this. I have no water on the inside of my dock. I have 4 feet on the outside of my dock.
Right.
And
You're close to the other side.
But you couldn't go out further.
Yeah, I couldn't go any further, but I'm just saying that
Right.
the fact that he can doesn't mean that we should, especially when the code says he shouldn't.
Well, he's already like 55 feet is really a
How
minimum
do you
thing.
feel about backing the thing up till the float hits 2.5 feet? The inboard end of the float.
I think that's the That's the most we can do, is because he's got to be in 2.5 feet.
Right.
And then that, to me, would justify having the dock end at greater than 4 feet. And the hardship would be that he can't bring it in any further because he'd be in shallower than 2.5 feet.
I'm not going with that.
Yeah, I can't buy it.
I can't.
Can't buy it. Can't buy it.
The float doesn't have to be 12 feet long. The whole thing would still be in 4 feet of water. It was just a 6 by 20 foot parallel to the shore. You could put that whole thing in 4 feet of water. Land a ramp right on it. Bill and I are looking at what kind of precedent this is setting, and you guys are looking at the location saying, what's the big deal? Right?
Well, that's kind of like what we're supposed to do, isn't it?
The location is a perfect place for a dock, and you were trying to make it so it's harder for him to use the dock, even though he's asked for a minimal thing.
I'm just trying.
I mean,
I'm just trying to be fair
you know,
with him.
I mean, but that's fair. I mean, he's not, he's not trying to keep the Queen Mary on it, but
Why does he need 2 floats?
You know, are we here to design docks, or are we here to?
Yeah, we are, actually. I think that's part of what this job has got us doing
I don't
here.
think so. I don't think so.
I think we have input on the design of the dock, and that's what we're trying to do here.
would you let him put a 8 by 20 float or 8 by 24 float or whatever?
Why does he need 2 floats?
No, I'm just saying one.
You're allowed to.
Wider
You're
flow.
allowed to have 200 square feet by town code.
I'm just saying, if you put in 1 float,
We're looking for trouble, Sam.
Yeah, I don't get it.
it's not trouble. I'm just trying to deal within the code. I really don't see what problem there is in putting the inside edge at 2.5 feet. I don't know why that's an issue.
That's still being generous because you're adding a 12-foot float to it. That could be a 6-foot float. Still put them in 4 feet of water on both sides of it. Rated more than 4 feet.
Well, how about a 25-foot by 8-foot float? No, and
I mean,
no.
I'll talk to Bill. I mean, I guess the easiest thing to do to make everybody happy would be to shorten the catwalk 5 feet-ish, hit the 2.5 contour. But what I'm finding out now with these steep elevations, docks that I built 20 years ago are already, they
Something in, if they don't dredge it.
and they're already pre-existing non-conforming, and I can't change them. I can't go back to the DEC, and it's a situation where you were just dealing with before. It's like now that the dock is no longer the 2.5 feet wide. And I built docks 20 years ago that are now no longer conforming. So if you're going to split hairs about the 2.5 feet, 5 years from now, the dock's going to be non-conforming.
What happened to sea level rise?
Yeah, sea level rise.
I thought that was a
Look,
wash.
Yeah, but
Five,
also,
John.
but you're getting both extremes. You're getting both extremes. I can't believe, last night, I can't believe how the tide is the lowest that I can remember it in a long time. Not really. I remember last year when Dickinson Creek was empty. You could see the bottom all the way across. You gotta, this guy, I could see this guy coming back and having to chalk it or whatever in a couple of years. It's
Right,
crazy.
the float now is in 4.5.
Look at page 6.
I'm looking at page 6. I've been looking at page 6.
And if you were to walk that dock back 5 feet or 8 feet, you look at how close the float would be.
Look at page 5. Look at the contours on page 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
You look at 6,
I
you
can,
walk that back.
6 is giving you a one slice, whereas 5 shows you the whole, what you've got for depth across the whole area. You could slice this cake any way you want it and make it look bad.
The neighbor's dock ends in 6.4 feet of water. Take that away.
When was that built?
I don't know. But if you, I mean, it seems like we're splitting hairs here. If we're talking about shortening the catwalk by 5 feet and sliding the whole thing in, I can obviously tell Bill that that would make the whole of the board happy. Like I said, in the situation where the dock's only 50 feet long, it seems a very minimal, ask. And it's inside the pier line too, because you can see the only dock on the pier line, Christina added up before, and it's on the plans on page 4.
Well, the pier line has never been part of our,
Well, yeah, we have used that. We have used, that it doesn't extend out past adjacent docks as a rationale.
We've discussed the pier line.
We've discussed that.
As a rationale which,
Weber's property to 100 feet, and then it's got 2 extensions.
Well, everybody's got docks that they have now, and so why don't we bust everybody else?
it's not longer than all these surrounding non-conforming docks, so we should be able to do this one for the variance. It's not a good rationale.
Oh, and we don't have well, not that our vote counts for much, we don't have a majority. We've got a 2 and 2.
With a tie.
We've got a tie.
If you want to leave it that, we can bring it to town.
Town board.
One of you can come and speak to the town board as a whole, or you can trust Jim and I to do the, Frank and Judy show. Punch and Judy. I understand your arguments on both sides.
You guys are allowed to weigh in too.
I'm a liberal, I'll just leave it at that. Means I'm more likely to give the guy a break. I don't see this as, I do see this de minimis, I don't see it as, I mean, silting does occur here, doesn't it, in this code, all of that. And I think precedent is funny with the docks, it seems to me.
Why
Where is it located? What are the conditions specific to that? So you did it over here, but over here it's so different. There's nothing is the same.
That's why we're
in
here.
dock application.
No, but they're constantly brought up to point out that
Actually, I don't remember, we bring it up, but I don't remember anybody else putting it on our face.
Excuse me, Jack, is Jack here?
Jack, I'm always a gentleman and I never throw anything in.
I'm forcefully off. I will vouch for that.
Did you put Jack on this? You should go in.
Jim, what are your thoughts on this?
I was gonna just reserve judgment and take PJ's comment and say 2-2 vote, and we could discuss it with the board. But to me, everything is in degrees. I understand the 2 gentlemen that want to work within the code. I get that. But I also get the fact that this was not, based on my 7 years of looking at other dock applications that are, way more than this. I just think that this is a small, it's
Not terrible.
not horrible. It's something, and Costello was talking about bringing the catwalk in 5 feet, so, if that helps a little bit, that helps a little bit. I do agree that the predicting of these tides, I get the sea rise, but I agree with that one. I don't date back as far as you. I've been here 16 years. But the extreme low tides lately, in the last few years, have been, wow, they are really, really low. And maybe it's that some of these creeks and bays are filling in a little bit, but they are low.
Christine, can you do me a favor and put that or Google Earth thing up again? And just You know, if I was the neighbor, I would say, shit, excuse me. Shoot, I want to put an L on my dock.
Wouldn't he be allowed to, or no?
Depends how much square footage it is.
If it's in 6 feet of water, it's non-conforming, and the answer would be no.
Yeah.
I'd give him the L too. But he would get into the problem probably of the.
Shortening it up till the float hits 2.5 feet of water.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't see the hardship to the owner by doing that.
Okay, so Bill and I are okay with, if you can get them to shorten up so the inboard end of the float hits 2.5 feet.
What does that take?
We'll have to go back to the DEC and get it, and do all that stuff. I don't think they'd object to it. It's just shortening the dock by 5 feet and going back to the DEC, Army Corps of Engineers, Department of State. You know, at the last hurdle, 5 feet for a dock that doesn't interfere with anything. You know, it doesn't cross the waterway, it doesn't.
Bureaucracy at its worst.
You know, with the neighbor's dock, the neighbor's dock is longer than his, and there's nobody, the dock doesn't really affect anybody.
And there's a good chance
And there's gonna be vegetation, guaranteed.
that it'll be on the bottom. In that corner. It just doesn't make, it just doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around making them go back, go to 2.5 feet. It's kind of, it doesn't make sense. You know, I live on the water in a place where the water, the topography changes dramatically in a few years. And this place is no different.
I can't speak to that, I don't know.
And they have to dredge it every couple of years, they dredge the
The
channel.
mouth, yeah.
Yeah,
And that has to do with the shore, what do they call that? Moving
There's
down.
very little activity inside this pond. I don't think they don't have that type of action going on. Maybe silting, but they don't have that other kind of action going on.
We're putting floats in left and right that go to 2.5, that honor the 2.5 foot DEC thing.
Generally, we're trying to get to 2.5 feet.
right,
That's the difference.
right.
Here, it's easy because he got the right piece of property. Shouldn't penalize him for that.
I don't think we're penalizing. I don't understand why you.
Well, you know, maybe.
Why is it a penalty that he gets a dock and it's 2.5 feet and it's in more than 4 feet of water? Why, how is that?
To be able to easily keep if you had two boats, to keep one on the inside instead of making it so hard and unusable that it's hard to use it
You can still get,
for no good reason.
you can still get inside with an inflatable or something.
I'll leave it to the wisdom of the town board.
We're a water, you know, we're a water community, we live on the water, people live on the water because they want to be able to utilize it. I don't think you're doing the environment any favors, because as I say, in extreme tides, that's gonna be on the bottom.
So,
And you especially as an environmentalist, I would think that you would.
so can it go to the town board with a 2-2 vote?
Would have to, because we have no way of breaking the tie.
We'll get to it tomorrow, the work session, but maybe next week.
It'll be a hearing.
Oh, it'll be at the hearing, that's right, yeah.
So can I like request a vote to make it official and we move on to the meeting?
You can request, but I'm not ready yet.
I would love to see you resolve it yourself and not put JJ and I in this position and, you know, one of the four of you will, you know, listen to reason and then move, but if you, we'll do it. That's as simple as that.
All right, how about this? I want to answer Al's. You took out the 6 by 12 and just landed on the 6 by 20. That whole 6 by 20 would be in greater than 4 feet of water.
How about let him make it 8 by 20 to give it more stability for the float, for the ramp?
Why does it need stability? It's dead calm in there.
just people walking down the ramp on a 6-foot float, when it's in that attitude, is gonna make it.
Yeah, it helps with the ramp to give you room to move around.
Right, I see it's coming down that way.
Jack, what's the level of change that triggers you having to go through the whole rigmarole all over again? Any change or?
Any change.
Any change.
Yeah, any change, yeah. And like I said, we're kind of like arguing over 5 feet in a situation where it's a great piece of property, it's a great spot for a dock. We tried to make sure the dock was clearly over the 2.5 contour. I didn't do this hydrographic, so there's not a 2.5 contour on there. But you can see where the 2 is, and you can see where the 4 is. The dock is cleanly in enough water, and it's within the pier line.
But it doesn't honor the code.
So the option I have right now, I have 2 options. I have the option of giving you guys a hardship letter, and or I just shorten the dock
Put
5
that on
feet.
the agenda for the code. What's that? We'll put that on the agenda for the code change.
Yeah, right. Oh, you have 2 things before you guys, the hardship letter, shortening the dock by 5 feet. What would you prefer? If we can get this vote moving forward.
Well, I think John's suggestion of the 8 by 25 makes a lot of sense.
I don't want to be responsible for designing somebody's dock.
No,
It's such garbage because we do it all the time.
we do.
Well, and I object to it
I
most of
mean,
the time.
it would work on an 8 by 25 float.
Your comment, Jack, on that?
With the float configuration, I don't want to change. We're at 192 square feet, that's within the town code. Going and redesigning the dock, I don't think is something that.
Well, the dock would stay exactly the same, the float would change.
Well, I'm saying the float, I don't want to reconfigure the float. Like I said, there's 2 options here. I provide you with a hardship letter, or I move the float, shorten the pier by 5 feet and move the inshore end of the float back to the 2.5 contour. Like I said, this, in 5 years from now, this dock is now going to be non-conforming. That's.
Well,
It's non-conforming now.
so we get this problem of keeping the floats the same and then the corner getting to 2.5 foot. If we left the ramp and the fixed dock the same, but changed the floats to an L, that whole float will be in 4 feet of water. And we've gotten over the 2.5 foot problem.
Then you'd have to go to the DEC to change that, right?
Either way, he's got to go to DEC.
I've got to go back to everybody no matter what. So unless, the only thing I can do is provide you guys with a hardship letter, and then we're good. I didn't really think we were going to split hairs this much tonight. So this, like I said, there's 2 options.
No, you're assuming a hardship, but what would the hardship be? And under the circumstance, I don't get the hardship. What is the hardship?
I didn't write the letter yet. So if you like, I will talk to Mr. Cummings, and like I said, we'll have to discuss his hardships.
Or we just
I'm
say,
not
let's
using
take
it
the
now.
vote and just let the town board decide. I get paid the big bucks, we get paid squat.
The problem, the 8 by 25 floats is difficult for you to deal with.
What's that?
Is one of the problems an 8 by 25 foot float is hard for you to maneuver physically?
No, it was just, this was the design that they chose to do, and it fit within the town code. It lets you come down the
This
ramp.
doesn't fit within the town code.
The float does. You're just saying, the only thing that's non-conforming to the code is that you're saying I'm a little past the 2.5 contour.
I say
4 foot.
say the hardship letter, and I agree with Bill in that respect. What's the hardship? We don't know what a hardship is. We either gotta shorten the dock 5 feet or let BJ and I bring it down board. First, and the other thing I have to say is, I will say, I've dealt with Mr. Costello for 8th year dealing with him. I know he represents his client. He's gonna represent his client well. One thing I do respect back John Costello, I can't say that about a lot of people that come before the town board. He's very reasonable in his request, so that's just something that, thank God, we have somebody in here that's willing, and many times does. Take your recommendations, work with them. He's asking you to work with something, he's giving you something back. Again, I don't know, your decision, but I say forget the hardship, either 6 feet shorter or BJ and I will vote. I recommend it to the other three town board members.
Did Costello Marine actually come up with this design, or did his architect come up with this design and you're taking over?
This has been going on for a while. I don't really know exactly the timelines of what happened. All I know was their original planner was asked to separate the wetlands and the dock application.
Yeah, I brought that.
I don't remember. You see me here quite often. I'm not sure exactly, the exact.
No, I raised my hand and said, hold, time out. You can't, you gotta get a separate application for the dock. They had it all in one big package. So that's what I was just wondering whether this is a Costello Marine design market. I don't know, I like the 8 by 25 foot myself. Puts the whole thing in 4 feet of water. You're done with the 2.5 foot. Oh my gosh, it's gonna hit the bottom. And it still exceeds what the code allows. That's my vote. James?
I vote as drawn.
Al?
As drawn.
And I go with John's concept.
Okay. Much for Mr. Cummins. I'm sorry, Boo, you had your hand up on that.
He's smarter than that.
I was just stretching.
I apologize, I
No problem, it's topic was covered.
did give you the
Can I
floor.
ask that at the end, we listen to the other, or at least give the other two members who can't vote, but they could certainly give their opinion of what they would vote if they could vote.
Sure. That's, yeah, remind me, okay? We got 6. Okay, at least it's not 8 o'clock. All right, who's up next? Sami and Judge.
Show me.
Sony. Splashboard. Oh, this is out off of Brander Parkway, Norton Parkway.
Yeah, it's existing splash board that he needs to replace, I guess.
Somi?
Sony.
Is there another name attached to that?
Judge?
The file was named Sami. File was named Sami, S-O-N.
And I'm also representing Mrs. Somer, you have questions for me. It's a straight up replacement.
Yeah. Somebody asked me a question, what were the drawbacks of Splashboard? And one of my answers, there's certainly some reflection of waves that, who's to say whether that's good or bad? But the other answer I had for them was that as the dock deteriorates, the splashboards are one of the first things to go, floating off into the bay. You think that's accurate or inaccurate?
Well, we're trying to replace it before that happens.
Yeah.
So Mr. Somi is being proactive. The splashboard's still there. It's starting to deteriorate and some of the was dropping down like in between the bottom clamp and the lower clamp.
Right.
So we're in here, so like I said, the $10,000 rule is one of these things. Like Mr. Levinson has to take the high road and do the right thing and get the permit.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's over the $10,000 rule that Shelter Around Town has never adjusted for inflation in the past 25 years. So he's just doing the right thing, getting a permit.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to hold this back. I'm just saying that if there's a downside to splashboard, is that you got to keep an eye on them because they're one of the first things to start to go. At least they were at my dock.
It's a maintenance issue. That splash was probably put in 25 years ago.
Yeah. That's when everybody was saying CCA was going to last forever.
Thank God for me, it didn't.
I'm good.
Is that why you're putting balsa in
I'm good.
James? Al?
Good.
I'm good.
Bill? You? Oh, here we go. Ochi. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
You got the coordinates in there, Tina? Yep. Oh, there's a.
I still have residency.
Is this Bocce?
There's a variety of addresses.
He just purchased property on the island, he definitely.
He's not on the roll at the moment.
He is on the roll with GIS.
Yeah,
So he's not on the roll from last year, the transaction literally went.
yeah, he just
Okay.
closed on that.
Yeah, it's in the live that like I printed out the report.
Okay, good.
Oh, he's a property owner. That's been documented.
Is he the one who built that house down on the?
He.
Just one property. Yeah, well, that clear lot, the newly cleared lot of Deerfield.
So the question is, what, let's see. So, right there. What's that other buoy? Just up at 2 o'clock, yeah, is that a? That's a,
Last time we updated the,
oh, it says available.
those?
I couldn't tell from this. Where the.
Put them there.
Can you zoom out, when you get a minute?
You're listening back in front of Capitol Hill.
Oh, okay.
So is the intent to put them where 2989 is?
It's available.
Who is 2989? It might just be expired.
It says available.
It's
That, it would be listed as available if it was expired. Because by the letter of the code, when your permit expires, it does become available. However, in practice, that has never occurred, ever.
Say that again?
By the letter of the code,
Right?
when your permit expires, the date expires, it's null and void, and you must reapply as a new applicant for that location. However, that has never occurred, right? We give people, the intent is that, oh, okay, you forgot to renew it, we're gonna let you renew it.
No, but we've assigned on multiple occasions a new application to an existing expired location.
Assuming that person has, it's gone through the process. All I'm suggesting is that might have expired 5 minutes ago, so we should see what the deal is with the permit itself.
Can we go back in time and see what that, who is, or?
Yeah, you should be able to just, look right up and see.
Looks like he wants to be near 1936 and 3475. Where is that?
3475 is right below him.
What I overheard was that he was just looking, and what's his face, the contractor was just looking for an open spot. If the 2989 is available, then
That'd be
I
perfect.
think that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's where he wants to be.
The question is,
But who owns it?
So it was reassigned to the different permit. It's available.
Well, it was a double permit, right, on there, so it's the only one.
it's too close to that one anyhow.
My guess is that if the contractor probably looked at online borings, saw that it's available, and just
It's
pulled those coordinates thinking that, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it should be 3606 Langham.
Is that expired, or is it?
No, so, that's for you to look at this, because the note on this one, W2989, it just says in a clerk notice, it's reassigned to W3606.
And it's the same spot, 3606. So it's a double entry, right?
Yeah.
Yep, which is not surprising. But you can look at 3606 to see if it's
And 3606 is.
approved, expired, or canceled.
It's approved, it's,
Okay, so there's a permit issued for that location already.
yeah.
In other words, his proposed location is too close to a approved location.
And there's a permit in place for the location of W2989?
Yeah, could you just click on it one more time? I think, yeah, okay. Oh, wait. You see how when she clicks on that, there's two numbers that
No,
come up?
no, only one comes up, that's the,
No.
you see,
They're both the same number.
they're both same number.
I'm sorry, I can't see that far from here.
3606 is way up here.
Go straight down, try that one. Click on the,
3606 is way up to the, whatever, northwest.
Yeah, so I would request personally, and maybe you guys table that, and I can go out and physically inspect those locations and get up-to-date coordinates for the ones in question, and find out if the coordinates don't, just don't match, and it was intended to be in that spot.
I think 606 has two sets of numbers on it,
It does.
3543,
Yeah, so those probably inspection and actual.
Langham, Andrew.
I think what you're saying, Bo, makes sense, put noise on it, because you all know how these.
I have a bunch of that stuff inventoried from this summer anyway, so I might not actually even have to go out there.
Mm-hmm,
But I'm always up for a ride anyway.
okay.
So we'll push this off to the March meeting then and have Bo look.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, is this Dana Forster Inc.? Or is it Jack's Marine?
I wonder if he's a subcontract.
You think, it's very frustrating that this isn't working, because I thought you were gonna straighten this out, but
I am, but there's
It's gonna take.
hundreds. I mean, I've already taken out like 250 duplicates. So, I mean, it's a Herculean task to undo what's been done. And I work with online moorings several times a day, just about every day. And the town clerk's office, we've been working a lot together over there. Just as a side note, I'm very hopeful with the direction that all of this is going. But that's a very common sight historically, that we have duplicates of things right on top of one another with either different permit numbers or duplicate permit numbers or things like that. So it becomes very, very difficult if you just simply click on the first one that's there, because you don't know there's more directly behind it. Then you see something that might give you the wrong information. It's available when it's not. And that's a function of inputting the same information multiple times rather than just updating the existing information.
Right, but it may be available, right?
Maybe.
Maybe because Langham or whoever
Yeah.
moved to
It's in a
3606.
different spot, so that spot is actually,
Right.
right.
Could be, it could be, in this case it is,
Yeah,
but,
it could be.
Right.
but why not
Yeah,
wait?
conflicting information.
Why not wait and find out?
Yeah, I mean, I can do it on Wednesday if you want.
I'd say there's no rush in February.
I think I'd vote for a ride anyway, so.
All right,
I'll get back to you, huh?
let us know.
No problem.
I'm still in a quandary. Why don't you think that W2989 isn't available? Well, it says it is.
Because we have another permit, what was the number?
Recent.
3606.
That according to the clerk's note says that it replaced this location. But on a map, it shows here.
Oh, you said 3606, or did you mean?
Right, that's up there,
3660.
No, way up on the left.
3606, which had all those other numbers attached to it.
Yeah, 35.
Weird in itself.
543.
This is a mystery waiting to be solved.
Yes. I mean, this is.
So let's just figure it out. Maybe those two get straightened out now.
Right.
Can you straighten the whole thing out?
Here it is.
I mean, that is a field.
Yeah.
So that we should be using.
Yeah. I'm getting.
All right.
So like, when I say there's 800, like you're plus or minus 800 moorings, John, there were hundreds and hundreds of issues like this in all of them. In any field, any mooring, any grid, anywhere on the island.
Not my grid.
Right, except for your grid. I think I've said this to you. If all of these were structured and laid out and labeled and organized like yours, I would be out of a job. No, I mean, it's absolutely incredible how yours are laid out. And we've talked about how you did it.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice to get that
Yeah, it's a
organized.
Beginning of February, we have, February, March, get us all straightened out.
Right, and
And I'll ask Joe and Dana what the intent is, the whole. So I can say like, why'd you pick this one? I know Joe originally applied for a spot in WA and was told had to go on a wait list. So I think that's when he changed his mind to go to this.
okay.
So I'll find out from them.
Well,
what
it's
their
obviously,
intent is.
if 2989 is still active, it's obviously too close to that.
To his proposal.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, McCann mooring.
He should maybe be riparian unless he's got another one.
Is this right in front of his property? Is that what's going on there?
Fine.
Oh, is the vote gonna be in Brooklyn?
Shelter Island resident, yes. Shelter Island taxpayer, yes.
Mailing address they're asking for, so that's.
It's street address 12 Westmoreland. That's probably in front of his. I guess.
I don't know what he didn't give us any sort of,
Is on the tax.
oh, there we go.
He gave a tax thing.
Beg your pardon?
I think he gave a.
Hey, that probably is from his house.
Amber told me that, so that we're not questioning these things all the time, that she's gonna attach the tax roll. I don't know what that looks like.
On the last page of the Bachi application.
Right. That's where I saw it.
I'm missing that, but that's all right.
Bachi.
We just were looking at it.
Botches, botches.
There, this is what it looks like.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So is that in front of his property?
Yeah,
Can we tell?
this is his.
That's his property?
And is this his only mooring or is he been more than one?
Aha.
This looks like the boat to get to the boat.
Could be.
Well, do you have any idea from that?
This is the first I've heard of this application, so I can. Yeah, I mean,
What's
you
his
could,
name?
yeah, you could group search the address too if you wanted to.
So it should be riparian.
The other one's under an LLC, so we'll never find it.
Probably.
Well,
No,
it's
his
kind
name
of,
actually wasn't on the L, so that's why. Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
should we ask him to move it almost due south?
A little bit, yeah, to give it in front of his house.
So. Yeah, right.
Which is his property, the one to the right, or, I mean, top or
Yeah,
bottom?
this is his house.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, so right about, yeah, there you go.
Good.
Yeah,
A little out further.
two left.
That's good. Maybe for a little further out.
Oh, that's fine. Really? Okay.
Well, you want to get in the way, you got the guy.
A little bit. Good. The location. Front of his property.
Interesting, this one's under Jack's Marine and the others are under Dana.
That's why I was asking for the Dana Foster Inc.
I'll read it, it's just, everybody's okay.
Yeah, everybody's okay,
You need the coordinate?
yeah, we're going. Just got it.
Yes.
Okay.
41. 061. 399. 2. 358. 444.
444 West,
Well, this have to be,
read that back to you. 41.061399 north and 72.358444 west.
So this application goes back to August of last year.
Right.
Okay.
So are we leaving this as a private or change?
No, I think we ought to change it to riparian.
Couldn't find anything else, right?
But,
Under McCann?
no, I couldn't. With his address, but,
But if he gets another vote,
what's the
If
address?
he gets another boat, then it's not riparian. But if he doesn't get another boat, it is riparian. That's just the way the code is. I don't think you can elect
So,
to make it not riparian, right? Maybe.
I'm just thinking if we leave it in private instead of vote, we have to go through the whole changing it.
Oh,
Around.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm not gonna argue with you.
12 on
It's gonna be riparian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to change it to riparian as well.
Are we gonna change this application to ask if they had an existing mooring? Or,
I'm working on developing a whole new form for private moorings.
okay,
They're either riparian or just private, separate form for commercial, so for commercial or holding, to kind of divvy these things up, to make everything a little clearer. Working on that protocol, just to try come up with a model to then bring to you guys and say, yeah, add this to it or get rid of that, or, you know. So that way, we're actually getting the information that we're looking for.
Great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, I mentioned that to them too, that I think there should be a line that says these with blanks, fill in the blanks. These additional permits also are associated with this
It's
address.
on there. Yeah, we're working on it. We're getting there.
So,
Good stuff. It was a,
because that's a question we're also asking.
changing the
Want to vote on this?
wasn't an option until recently.
I'm good. James,
I'm good.
Al, Bill,
Good.
4-0. Shelter on Yacht Club dredging. Take them sand and gravel, thank God. This is an existing
Two areas.
permit.
North Pier and the south. What's that?
Didn't I read it's in, the permit's in place, like
Yes.
last year?
Yes, the permit in place, they said.
I don't have any issues. Anybody else?
I'd like to know where it's going, but that's about it. Just let's approve that plan site.
Need some sand?
Bud?
Well,
I'm good. James?
I'll abstain.
I'm good.
Al?
I'm good.
3-0-1. Yep. Just, oh, big win.
You remember, James?
Okay. Yeah, we're down to the main attraction. No DEC permit. This is a conceptual conversation.
It's in the DEC.
Isn't this the same permit that you showed us a month or so ago,
I think,
roughly? Or could you ask for comments about it?
yeah, I think I sent it in and asked just for comments on it. This is a plan that's been submitted to the DEC, and we're hoping for a quick response on it. I don't think the DEC will have any problems with it. It goes to the proper water depth, it's under 100 feet. We're under the 100 square feet on the float. But just something for you guys to,
Is there another copy of that around? And this is essentially the same as well?
I'm sorry. This was the last concept.
The last concept.
That we sent you, I think it's the same one. And that's actually what's been applied to the DEC,
Thanks.
from the Engineers Department of State.
Thank you.
stairs are existing, so it's not like a new upland thing, right?
The stairs are existing. And the stairs, they feel that the stairs have caused a significant amount of erosion. They don't want like stairs in another place to cause another issue on the property. But if you go there, you can see where the stairs are. That's the one spot that has actually washed out in the past couple of swims that we've had. So they really feel strongly about not changing the area of the stairs to cause more disturbance on the property. That's why we look at a 30-foot setback, put the dock at the 30-foot setback, and just connect it over to the stairs, upland. You can see that one little crossover.
I walked there yesterday, the whole bank is eroding away.
Yeah, I was there today. It's a mess.
Yeah, especially down towards where the stairs are. And they thought that putting the stairs anywhere else would exacerbate a problem in that area.
Didn't stand out to me, I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Well, it's just the stairs are set further back than the rest of the hill. The hill faces here and the stairs are kind of pushed or inland.
It kind of goes like that.
A little erosion there, if I remember.
Yeah, it's a lot of erosion.
Yeah, a little erosion there.
And it's worse by the stairs.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why they really objected to putting the stairs anywhere else, causing more problems.
So Jack, we've always preferred that an owner put the dock centered on their property. There has been a trend toward moving it to the property line so the owner has a clear view, but then, it's affecting the neighbor's view. So what would be the objection to centering this on her property?
It was a situation, like I said, about connecting to the existing set of stairs. And like I said, they adhered to the 30-foot setback. And there's no view to interrupt it. Even the Ram's Head Inn, which, she now owns, it's not in their line of view. You can't see the dock from the Ram's Head Inn. So even if she didn't continue to own the Ram's Head Inn, it wouldn't be a view issue. It's not in the line of a neighboring view where the dock is placed.
Yeah, from that, where her house sits, it's not in anyone's view.
You can't see.
She can move the dock in front of her house or all the way to the south and she still wouldn't see it from her house. Well, she can leave the stairs where they are, but move the dock.
Well, there was a thing about, making it easier to cross to the stairs. So like I said, we adhered to the 30-foot setback.
30-foot setback.
Yeah, we're off the northern property line by 30 feet.
Oh, this is 26 feet, right?
That's just to the stairs.
Right. You go out to the end of the float.
I gave out my plans, no, but I think the dock should be 30, there should be a maintained 30-foot setback.
That was the one comment I had, and we saw it in the first place, was just to make sure it's 30 feet.
If they need a wetlands permit for that ramp. Like all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, with the wetlands permits, it's only become an issue where the structures were significant.
Yeah.
Like every dock that we do, where it's a beach access, we come across high tide, say 10 feet.
Oh.
And there's never been a request for a wetlands permit, like a situation where Cummings, that we just
Huge.
mentioned, it was a big set of stairs.
And the ramps had big sets,
Yeah,
big.
right, that's why they had me separate that. And the wetlands application is very solidly come into play because we're barely crossing that line.
All right, so here comes a conversation. It's a residential property, it's AA zoned. There isn't supposed to be any commercial activity on the dock. It's supposed to be all for private use. And this, to me, is obviously access to Ram's Head Inn. There's probably even a gate and a fence there.
I don't think so. There's no fence that I know.
How did what's his face get to the dock? Bennett get to his dock?
He walked on the beach because of the insurance problems. As I've said in the past, that easement was really not for the dock, it was for getting water. But in the function, he used those stairs and went on the beach to use the dock.
Okay. Yeah. Now that she owns the inn and the property next door, she could should get rid of that fence or put a break in it or. It's just,
I don't see any fence there. You can just walk down the beach and go to either side. I mean, it's wide open to Ram's Head Inn and
I saw
our house.
a pretty flimsy looking thing up in the bush.
Oh, at the top of the stairs or in the, oh, you mean along the property line?
Way up, way, all the way up. You know, at the top, at the head of the stairs.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but are we are we
What?
Can you even
predicting
consider the fact that
malfeasance?
they're owned by the same and, I mean, shouldn't you just focus on this alone? I mean, I'm a little worried, just that. It's my job, I worry. You know, I don't know, I think that's sort of prejudicial, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not an attorney, I don't know if I used that correctly.
I think the reality of the situation dictates that you take these things into consideration.
Yeah, all right.
I think that dock is going to be under pretty close scrutiny, if I'm not mistaken.
Why would,
I think if something happens on that dock, you're going to know about it.
Yeah, I would, as long as I'm on the board for the next 10 months here, there's no way, we're using just the Bennett dock, the old Bennett
The
dock.
resolution actually
Yeah,
says
it
that
says-
this must be the only dock
Only
that
dock for
services the
the service to
resident.
rent.
Correct.
I mean, we have it
This
in.
dock, and I agree with you,
Yeah.
it is, but I'll view it that way. I am cautious about what Bill just said, obviously. But if we don't keep a close eye on that, there's just no way in hell that dock can be used for any purpose in the Ramsey Inn. Any. This is as far as I'm concerned, a dock that she's gonna put her personal boat on.
I mean, I don't have any greater insights than anybody else, but I would agree with you.
why, but if she did move the dock south, she'd pick up half a foot of depth, and I know how strongly you feel about having depth at the end of the dock. It would go from 3.5 feet to 4 feet, just about. What kind of, does she have a boat in mind for this dock, or is it just, doesn't,
She's got like
a launch?
she's got like a 42 North Bay. But like I said, the big reason for this is connecting to the existing set of stairs in a reasonable fashion. If we move the dock further to the south, we can't, reasonably cross across the beach and all those rocks. Like I said, the dock adheres to the 30-foot setback. And it doesn't interfere with anybody's, view or navigation and the float's the code, the length is the code, the setback's the code.
And I can only tell you that when we write this dock up, if it is approved, there's gonna be, I do, again, you're judging it strictly here as a private dock, but there's gotta be some assurances that, this is not in any way, shape, or form going to be used to service the Ramsey Inn. It's just the way it is.
Well, so what are the penalties?
One dock and
What are the penalties for violating that?
it's something to discuss, but,
Because we've got laws up the wazoo
Yeah.
and say a noise ordinance or something like that, and
as James.
try enforcing
James
some of
said,
this stuff.
this will be watched by more than the town board and the Bay Council.
I know, but people can watch and complain all day long, but what happens when they do?
You go to court, civil proceeding.
Yeah,
And the court is gonna give them what? That's what I'm asking. What's the penalty for this violation?
It's probably stipulated, right, in the code already, if there's a violation of an intended use, right? So if it's stipulated in the code that private docks can't be used for commercial purposes, then there's going to be some fine associated with a conviction for a violation of that.
No, I'm
And
gonna
it's
say,
probably, my guess, Bill, is probably $250, right? Because that's the
Every time.
going rate most of the
Which
time.
is the cost of doing business.
I'm gonna say, my friends, I just talked to my friends, they wanted to come over for lunch, so I told them to use my dock.
Yeah. You cannot, what kind of country you wanna live in? Few freedoms, no freedoms, I don't know. I mean, I think that this person, by any measure, you can't turn down the stop. How could you? It's all by code. I don't, I just, I'm terrified, like I'm shaking in my boots, you're gonna give me another lawsuit.
I don't think anyone's talking about turning it down. I think we're just talking about where it could be placed that would make it, I mean, I'm serious. I'm surprised.
Code, if it's already in code, you know, it adheres to the code, how can we turn it down?
Bill, I
On
think
what
if you
grounds?
moved it over 20 feet, 30 feet south, it's still subject, so you walk 20, 30 feet further. Now, I think.
I mean, if the intent is as.
Correct.
Nefarious.
I'm just saying, why wouldn't you move it further south to get another half a foot?
Because
Because
of the wood steps, because accessing the steps is important. Without a big megillah of a thing and not having to walk on the beach. But that's the answer. You might not agree or you might not believe, but that's the answer that we've been given.
You know, the perception may be, and perceptions are important in this day and age. When you locate it just outside the 30-foot, you know, setback and it's close proximity to the other dock, then it's more likely that, you know, people are perceiving that it's gonna have some bad usage. So you know what, you talk to Andrea and say, hey, listen, you know, this is, you're concerned about perceptions? Again, whether you walk, the dock's here and you walk up those stairs, the dock's 20 feet down, you walk 20 feet of beach, you walk up the stairs, what's the big difference? I mean, come on, folks, I mean, unless we're trying to handicap people here, what's the big difference?
I think from my point of view, because my rights, she's entitled to this.
I get that, but I'm not, you know, there's enough.
I think you're saying the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
No, he's saying, she should move it because there's.
No, I'm just.
I think
I'm not
not.
saying that, I'm not making that.
I think he's saying, what's the difference where it is, if you were gonna use it illegally or whatever?
Right, but if that was me, if I'm putting myself in her position, saying, well, if that's the perception, you know, maybe I move it over 20 feet, they walk over 20 feet, go up the steps. Maybe, you know, if that's the perception. Now, I'm moving it a little further over. I don't know, that's my call, it's not my call, I don't own the property, but I just, you know, you surely don't want to go through more hassle with the REM and that's for damn sure.
And I know that she from the beginning has talked about, I don't know that it's irreparable to move the stairs, but, you know, she's concerned that it does, you know, and it appears that I haven't looked at it lately, but that there is erosion around the stairs, you know, and that's the whole thing, that she didn't want to create another spot right in front of the house of erosion.
She's got a problem. The whole front of the house needs a bulkhead. It's
That's the next step.
Okay.
going.
That's coming next, right, Jack? The two arguments from that point of view is I own the house and I'm looking out at the water. I got the ranch and service dock right there, the other one right next to it, still doesn't.
But you can't see, well, you wouldn't even see the dock in front of the house. I mean, that house.
That's true.
You're like looking out
That's
there.
up high.
And she probably should put boulders all along there because
Yeah.
she's like a couple of storms away from
Yeah.
an issue, but that's,
On the diagram boulders.
no, I mean stacked.
There are existing
A couple of
spots there.
boulders there, but they're not doing anything.
Again, I agree, you know, that she's gonna make the ultimate choice here. But I'm very concerned about safeguards, you know, because it will be scrutinized big time. And I'm just going back to that conversation last spring, I need one doc, we worked hard. And I think we came up, by the way, well, it is, I get that. Yeah, but I'm saying, we, as a town board, I think we're very fair in our judgment, very fair to both sides. Probably didn't please both sides, but you know what? It's just like short-term rentals. We got a solution that works.
I think, you know, this doc is not, you know, it's not for us to say, you know, if it's to code, it's the code. You know, so
Right.
we shouldn't pick it apart, you know, it's sort of like, let's find a problem with that other dock that was in a perfect location for it. Let's be happy that it's in a good spot and, you know, and not get crazy about it.
If I looked at it without knowing any of the history, I would say that thing is designed for easy access to the property next door.
Well, I mean, you don't even know, to actually, if you went there now, you couldn't it would be very hard to even think about access, because the property is high in the middle and then drops off on that side where the stairs are. So they probably put the stairs in the spot that was the easiest place to put the stairs in the first place. I don't know. I mean, we're trying to unravel somebody's head and thinking that, I don't know, that's our job.
Right, it goes back to, our job isn't to design other people's docks, it's just not. It's to interpret the code and confirm what
We think is fair
something needs to code.
and works in a situation.
It needs code, it needs code, it's like,
And when it doesn't, you make suggestions as to how they can change it. And if you want to call that designing a dock, you can, but that's what we do at every single meeting. There's plenty of other stuff to
But
argue.
it doesn't, but this
Yeah, I
does.
will tell you, and I know PJ doesn't want me to go back, but the original application for the Bennett dock, where the Rams Head Inn used, was right in front of the gazebo. And the one thing we were concerned about is safety for swimmers. So we moved it further south. Not only was it aesthetically pleasing when you're sitting up on a hill, look out at the water without looking out at the dock. You had an existing dock there. It was away from the swimmers. It was logical. It was fair. So we did it. Again, common sense and fairness should always factor into the equation.
Well, this is only preliminary, so we can gear up for the main event.
I'm just being cautious, that's all. And
No, I'm
I planted it in Jack's mind and say, hey, listen, about the word perception. So you go back and talk to her, if she says no, that's her decision, okay, I got it. I'm just saying, just something to think about, committee talked about it.
The only thing is that we'd have to amend the DEC permit right away. I mean, because you're saying it went in, right? You said.
Yeah, it's already been submitted,
Yeah, okay,
those plans.
yeah, okay.
I think if,
Because we already had this in front of us, and I don't know what I made a comment to Jack, but I don't know who else did.
I did, I said it should go south. If Ms. Carter sat before the town board and gave the town board her personal guarantee that there weren't going to be clients using that dock to access the Rams Head Inn, guess I would be comfortable with that, without that being on the record, or at least hearing it from her own mouth. And to me, it looks like an easy access to next door to promote the business. I would want.
Probably in the approval, it could state that, the dock is for residential purposes only, not for use for any commercial application. I mean, that could be in, I would guess.
If comes in from out of town, wants to use it, and you're staying with her, or seeing it again, but personal time. That's one thing. I don't want to over legislate, but I do want to have an understanding. I don't want to go to war with docs. This thing
Good luck with enforcement issues.
was a pain, well, Bill, you brought up a good point. I'm supporting a good point. By the way, I hope the people that get elected in November are of the same mindset, because people will be watching. Not going, can't go, this should not occupy all of our time. That's the main thing. There are many other important things to state out there in the island. On the federal and whatnot.
It's not the dock, it's the increase in boating traffic.
I get all that. Oh, come on.
All right, so let's wrap this up.
It's not an application.
It's not an application.
We're not voting on it.
Jack's heard what we've had to say, I guess, and that's all right.
Yes, okay.
Good, okay.
to me, it's about, I express myself already, it's.
Slightly off topic, but that beach there is gorgeous,
What, the Rams Head Cove there?
beautiful.
It is, as it goes down the causeway.
If you walk it, you start to realize one of the
What a deal.
You know better than me, but the eelgrass, it washes
Up there.
makes beach. You can see little mounds of sand and the eelgrass, it's intermixed with the eelgrass that is washed ashore.
I used to love just walking down there, you know.
Yeah. But
It's a pretty area and pretty nice sand, actually.
Yeah, no, it's a very nice beach.
But the reason the sand is there is because the eelgrass washes up there and it captures it. You can actually see
There were
that.
times when it was like a carpet.
Eelgrass
Lovely
makes
flush
makes-
shag carpet. of
Makes
eelgrass.
beach. Okay, Slaughterback.
It's the pictures of the dock is done, right?
We didn't, oh, yeah, we get some pictures. We don't have, you didn't give us I'm sorry, you didn't give us the plans, all right? Or you can you pull them up maybe?
Yeah.
Or maybe I can tell you just my
The
concern.
dock is not complete yet. I didn't do the chocks. I didn't do the chocks on the float yet.
Oh.
So the float's not in. The ramp's not in.
Oh, I didn't know you built it.
I built it.
Okay. Good, then don't go away.
That's why I stayed. I just back up in the dock. And I put the float in the check-in, and then we just started with the chocks.
Looks nice.
The dock's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Really, seriously?
Hey, what don't you like? I love the.
I don't like the Brooklyn Bridge on the shore side. All the other docks are just dive into the sand or end in the sand. Why does that one have to go up and over and down again? And why does it need 3 bents underneath there? There's no more vegetation left, it all got jetted out.
We'll be back.
Why?
So the dock won't go anywhere. That's for
Help
sure.
me out with the 3 pilings on a 4-foot wide dock.
We always do that. Unless we're using tropical hardwoods, sometimes we'll try to eliminate the middle pile, just because of the expense of the piling. But with the CCA docks, considering the buoyancy of the wood, we always put a 3rd pile in. It's when we use a tropical hardwood, you're paying $26 a linear foot for the green ore.
All the way up past, 20 feet past the high water mark. So,
Anyway, as far as the elevations, that was what the DEC required the expediter to do. I didn't expedite this permit.
right,
I did do the construction, I was awarded the bid. And that was just a stipulation of the height requirement. Okay, not only want the graded decking over that, wetland area,
yeah.
they wanted a certain elevation above it also.
Yeah, so my own perception of this was that I was focused on the rock. I was focused on, first there were setback issues, right? And then the rock issue,
Yeah.
then the chalking issue. I completely spaced on what was going on shore. And I would have advocated loudly toward just diving that thing into the beach like all the other docks. There's 4 docks to the north of that, and that's how they handle that. I don't know why that can't happen. And then here's another piece to this thing I've been trying to puzzle together. How's it that Ian Consultants, and the way he described it to me is he gives his DEC drawings are schematic drawings. This is those are his words. They're not construction drawings. Contractor leaves you a fair amount of leeway to how you build it. Because his drawing doesn't show any bits, any extra pilings. It just shows, doesn't say how many pilings across. Your construction drawings we're used to seeing shows if there's going to be 3 pilings, So I think with EN Consultants, we need to scrutinize those a little more carefully because the drawings aren't as detailed as certainly Costello Marine's drawings.
But they were here.
That doesn't show how many pilings
It
across.
sure does, past the stairs. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
From side to side.
Well, look at. It looked like what I expected, so I'm surprised that you didn't expect it. There's the steps,
Right.
and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the
No, but-
pilings. Is that what you're talking about?
No, if you're looking this way,
Yeah.
Look down the dock and
look down the dock.
there's
Sometimes
There's an
there's 2
extra piling
pilings.
underneath.
Or an extra piling underneath, depending on, I think the dock to the north, a couple of them only have 2 pilings. Like this, right here. Like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So EN Consultant does not give it that detail.
Right, gotcha.
I thought that should be
This is a
something
better dock.
we should be just putting it out there, that there's a difference to be aware of.
Okay.
That the-
But it did show that uppity bend there on that drawing.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention
And
to
I
it.
think that was about keeping the dock off of the wetlands there, you know, and
All right, so last question is, why couldn't that have just into the sand?
That was a negotiation between Rob and the DEC. They basically want it to be 3 to 4 feet above the wetland, the dock.
I mean, not even get into the well and just into the sand.
I guess to get over the wetlands, you're not walking through the wetlands.
which I think they just wanted the wetlands to be as open as you could have them.
That's what Rob said. I'm just, the reason I'm questioning is because the other docks are all built that way.
Is there the same amount of grass in those areas as it is here?
Oh, I don't know, that's a good question.
I mean, they're, you know, they were built probably prior to, you know, the concern for, you know, having the wetlands accessible and open. You know, like some of them, you know, like Freeble's or Flanagan's or whatever it is, dock, it just like goes right into the dirt, you know, and it's molding away
Well,
there.
there's a little elevation there too, so that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that the ground, you know, the dock meets the ground.
And all those docks predate.
Right, they were predating all this.
But what, I guess then it boils down to, I'm not used to seeing that, you know, on Shelter Island.
Well, like I said, I get these big specs and I do them all over the place. We do a lot of them. I just did one over in Sag Harbor. Just
Yeah.
Wilder.
Yeah, but I noticed when I drive down Long Beach, that bay on the left has got some, let's do that. What the hell?
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion?
No, I just wanted, I'm sorry for being late, I misread the document, that's my fault, but I did want to say one thing. The transition period in this group. You know, there's 125 years of experience, which we keep talking about. We do have a problem with physically being here, you know, with people. We did have 3 people who were due as of February 1st of this year. Bill, George, and John. All 3 are present here tonight. We did start to interview. We interviewed 3 or 4 candidates, up 4. We still have 1 remaining. We interviewed Bert Waif, Skylar Needham, and Peter Reich. And we have a 4th interview coming up to fill Mike England's spot. I did make some phone calls to different people. You know, I wasn't sure whether John wanted to come back as chairman, and I think he's made that decision that he wants to occupy that position going forward. I can only tell you, and I'll turn it over to BJ, one of the things that we're concerned about, again, with the word perceptions, is, you know, is Peter Reich qualified? Hell yeah. You know, is Skylar Needham?
Jim, I have to stop you. We shouldn't be discussing candidates
Okay,
that may not get the position that's already
Right.
been ours.
okay, all right, okay.
You know?
Okay, yeah, I get that, but I'm just talking about trying to plan for the future. That we do need,
There should be an executive session.
okay, I just asked.
With them, they're in executive session.
Okay,
So we should put it on the agenda
yeah,
for next time if you want to have a talk about composition.
yeah.
Can
Well, you know, I
close the
don't know.
regular meeting?
I'll gladly leave.
Guys, have a good night.
It has to be on the agenda that you're gonna go into executive session.
Time out. We were gonna give.
We have to let the public weigh in.
I think one of the things you're grappling with is, my days are numbered, but I haven't given you what that number is.
No, and I'm not asking. I just would like, again, to see a smooth transition. I don't want to see more people leave and have to bring forth. If we could do this in a calculated way over the course of people's times expire, or put them on a 1-year type of thing rather than 3-year, that is things that I would like to consider for the group. I would like to see a good transition of people coming through. I think Bo's presence here as a non-voting member is something that the town board has discussed and said, they thought that was a pretty good idea. Yeah.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I think something that we should consider, or the town board should consider in that vein, would be the concept of having an alternate. You know, when you bring somebody on to replace Mike, maybe if you have more than one qualified or good candidate, you bring the second one on as an alternate. They do alternate, they do this in Sag Harbor. I know the ZBA and their boards do this, where if you can't get a quorum, that person votes.
Right.
If you have a quorum, he's learning, and the other members get to see that person and kind of get an idea, and we work with that person.
Just out of curiosity on what was just said, does anybody else have any feelings about that?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The alternate idea?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna
Yeah, the
shoot off a
alternate
quick
idea.
email about that.
And then they're ready to go when
Yeah, they get to know the
But he helped.
process and
leaves.
it's great.
If somebody leaves unexpected, right?
Say again?
What have you guys done with WMAC? Nobody's arguing about this idea? That's WMAC. He's the first one to agree with it. Somebody should have picked up principle, Dan.
No, I'm concerned, obviously, we're both leaving in 10.5 months, so I'm very concerned about the future of the town board. I'm very concerned about the future of the board, particularly this one, because it's a very, very important group of people. And I want the transition to go well. I want it to be smooth. I love the idea of having a non-voting member sits on, maybe with the idea that it bumps somebody, the following year or something of that nature, that's due to come off. Or somebody only wants to extend 1 year as opposed to 3 years. If legally we can do that. We ask the town attorney to take a look at that. If we appoint somebody, do we have to appoint for the 3-year tenured spot? Or can we appoint somebody for 1 year or 2 years as opposed to 3 years? That's all I was trying to say. Again, forgive me for bringing out personalities or names into play here, but it's just, I believe in being above board. And I just, again, perceptions are very important to me. I think that suggestion, Al, is a great one. And I would like BJ and I will bring it back to the board and discuss that.
Yeah, great. No, I'm glad, we can discuss the situation without discussing the personalities.
Right, correct.
So Pam Dennis has got her hand up. We got a few minutes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just, a few things on the big Ram pre-submission. I did send a letter in to you folks with a plan on that. Are we looking to make sure that that setback on the property line is going to be 30 feet? Because if it's not, then it seems to me this would have to go to the ZBA again. That was number one. Number two, I was curious about the pilings. Why are we putting 2 pilings onto this dock, that if it's just a residential dock for one boat to sit, and that property does have a riparian mooring? I don't see why that's necessary for this dock. And the third issue I had with the dock that I mentioned in my letter was that there are no pedestrian access stairs over this dock. And I'm not certain how that's going to fit with the boulders that are on the shoreline there. I did some measurements a few weeks ago before I did that submission to see where is this dock really going to be, and that 26-foot walkway, catwalk, whatever, is splitting some of those boulders. And I guess that's the real problem with the shoreline there. But I think that that's also an issue that must be taken into consideration, because access to the shoreline is a public right. And
Okay,
obstruction
what
to
was-
the shoreline, and an obstruction to the shoreline is not permitted.
You haven't brought up anything that we can't address, I think. What was the first question, though?
About the setback.
Yes, absolutely. The diagram, the concept showed 30-foot setback, the double A requirement. Second question?
The second
Pilings?
question
Pilings,
was the
number of pilings.
tie-out piling.
Oh, the tie-off pilings?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a 40-foot.
I think
One out here to design the dock. or tell somebody how they can design their own dock.
The code allows the dock to extend laterally parallel to the beach. The pilings are included in the definition of dock, and the code allows those to extend out laterally 50 feet. 50 feet? 50 feet. So there is,
But does it allow a residential dock to have, does it allow a residential dock to have two of those?
Sure.
I mean,
Yes,
both of them
as
are
long as-
going on the south side.
wait, are they both on one side or the,
Both on one side.
both on one side? So that's,
You would need that.
To tie your boat so it doesn't bang into the dock.
so that's not a big ask because a lot of people have them on both sides. In fact, I was surprised that they weren't. Well, I guess the reason they're not on the north side, because that would violate the 30-foot setback.
Right.
So, we do look at these things in quite a bit. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. I still don't understand why she needs two of them.
To tie
her boat up.
Tie the boat up. In the back of the boat and keep it off.
Yeah. That's really typical dock building.
But that's what the moorings are for. That's what the mooring is for. And most people on Big Ram use the moorings and leave their boats out on the moorings and take their dinghies out to their moorings and take the boat out to sea. Very few docks sit at the dock tied up on a tie-out line. I rarely see that. I mean, my dock has tie-out lines and we don't use them. We put the boat, we used to put the boat on the mooring.
That's
Right
where
now,
my
we not
point
have
was.
one, but I'm just mentioning that. It's a
Okay,
strange use there. And then the third thing was the pedestrian access there. So,
The pedestrian access, I think you have a good point on, and it's really gonna depend on seeing the section views of what they come back with on the plans. If the walkway is above what a rational step over would be, we're gonna ask for the steps.
If it's tall enough to walk on.
Right.
You have to realize that
Walk,
You
no,
have
I'm
to
looking to say
realize
walk
that-
under.
Right.
You saying walk under or walk over?
Either way, if
But I say
it,
it might be tall enough to
If
walk
it's
on.
high enough, you might be able to look.
Sometimes Pam will waive that step, those steps if it's just creating more structure and you still can pass. And not in this situation, but other docks land on the beach and it's easier to just take two steps to the left to get around the end of the dock. Forget it, and instead of building stairs,
correct.
it's less structure, looks nicer. So, but your
Correct.
point.
That's how the old Bennett dock was.
Yes,
Is that you
that-
just walk around the stairs on the shoreline.
There will not, it's in the permit and it's in the code that you cannot obstruct access along the shoreline. And that's pretty well known and that's dock building 101. Can't obstruct the shoreline access. So
Yeah.
I think you can sleep well, rest assured that will not be ignored. At least not
Okay.
by this committee or this town board, or our
Okay,
Bay
the
Coast.
boulders
Well,
there,
Christi-
the boulders there along the shoreline, I just want to say, the boulders there along the shoreline are about 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet high. So obviously, to make the connection to the existing stairs, which I don't believe there was ever a permit issued for from Mr. Bennett, it just seems like that dock is now going to be about 4.5 feet off of the shoreline there. So there's going to have to be some way to either walk behind those boulders, which right now you cannot because the bluff comes right up to that. It's really impossible to walk behind those boulders, and you can really only walk in front of those boulders on the water side. So it's a very tricky place. It's a very, I mean, you said you were there and you took a look. So it's one of those cases where I'd like to see the stakes put in place to see where this is really going to land before anything's approved. I guess I'll just say that it's part of the application. So when the formal application is made, I'd like to see that happen.
This is
We'll
true.
take it from there.
This is true.
Okay,
When we
I
get
think
to,
you'd be a guy.
yeah, we're extremely conscious of the not obstructing, right, guys?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So please rest assured that will not be ignored in any way, shape, or form. Mark. What's up, man?
Where is he?
I don't know, his name's up there.
gotta unmute himself.
How about Zinger?
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know, not much. Still, my body is almost completely back together again.
That's good news.
Yeah. Except my nose is kind of pointing the wrong way, but I know this is not part of the committee, but I'll just, never mind on that.
Okay,
Right.
well, thank you for listening, joining us.
Yeah. You're
Mark?
welcome. Yeah, John, one other thing, hopefully, in the future, things will be that if we have to attend via Zoom, that we will be able to participate.
During the course of the meeting. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, vote. The town attorney's working on it, I think.
Okay.
The whole issue.
Right.
One committee of many that are.
Anything else? Anything else?
Did
you
you
wanna
ask their
ask-
opinion on the dock that's in, Thompson, or for Thompson Road in Smith Cove?
Well, they can't vote.
They can't vote, but they can.
They could give some opinion.
Do you guys want to comment on
As
the
public.
dock that we were struggling with in Merkle Basin?
Yeah.
Merkle Basin? Any strong feelings, Mark or George? Open that door.
I'd say that's it. There is any comment.
Motion.
Let's get out of here.
Motion.
Yeah, unfortunately, when that was going on, I was driving, and unfortunately, I wasn't getting audio. And so I saw the pictures and all, and if you can just give me I had looked at it. What was the primary issue?
Sorry, George, you're out.
SOL.
Okay. I mean, I had looked at it. I mean, my first review of it a month ago was did it meet the 15%? But
You're gonna have to read it in the minutes. Sorry, dude.
okay.
Motion to adjourn, somebody?
So moved.
Second? Second. Thank you, everyone.